Hi, welcome back. I'm Pam Hayes from Hayes Sewing Machine Company, and today we're going to do Kimberbell. It's a wrap. So basically it is a mug wrap. So you'll see how it's going to have the ribbons on either side. This particular one is going to be flying geese, and it's going to have some quilting, and it's going to have a little bit of wording. And it says, "Quilting friends, keep you in stitches." Ah. So basically, this guy, if you've never seen one, you would wrap it around, tie it, and it's nice that you don't burn your hands. Okay. Now, this particular one is the large one that I did. So this I had to do in the 8x12 hoop. But what's nice is in the instructions that you can print out, they will tell you exactly what hoop size you need to work with. So today what I'm going to be showing you is the small. So I could have done a 5x7 hoop, but I already have the 8x12 out, so we're just going to do that. The stabilizer that we're going to be using today is soft and sheer, so it needs to be a cutaway stabilizer. And I've chosen my design. And one thing you'll take a look at, you'll notice it has 38 color changes, and you're like, what? And it's not as bad as you think, because every seam that you see here is a color change. So you're not actually changing colors, it's just a stop. First thing we need to do is we're going to lower the foot, and it's going to give us a box that is going to tell us where to put our batting. So it's going to stitch around. And again, if you use the 5x7 hoop, you wouldn't just be wasting as much stabilizer. But I figured it'd be a little easier for you to see today. So when it's all done, it is now going to want me to put my batting over top. So you want to make sure your batting is lined up and covering the straight stitch. And basically I was just using Warm and Natural white. Lower the foot again, and we're going to hit start. And I'm just using regular thread to start with. So I have regular thread in my bobbin and regular thread on top. And this one here is going to not only sew the rectangle, but it's also going to do all of the triangles inside, so I know where to put my fabric.
So quick question. If somebody wanted even more insulation for their mug rug, could you use something like Embroider where it has that extra insulation?
Absolutely.
On there?
I just wouldn't use anything that was a high loft bat. Okay. I think that would be a bit overkill. And especially when you're trying to turn it, I think that might be a bit bulky. But yeah, so if you wanted to have the Embroider and then some Warm and Natural in there, that'd be fine.
Would you do both?
Yes, because if you just do Embroider, it's going to get too hot for you.
Oh, okay. I thought it would protect you from it, but
no, it'll.
Yeah, I guess for pot holder, that's what we do. Yeah, on there. Okay.
Yep.
Not to mention, it cuts down on the crinkle sound.
Yes. What's that rustle? Alrighty. Now, for my pieces, okay, I'm going to basically be starting here. So I'm going to have 4 different colors, and then I'm going to have backgrounds on either side. So I have chosen some batiks, and we're going to go and we're going to line it up. And you got to love batiks. You know, the only fabric that has 2 right sides. Just choose a side. You want the first one here, you want the right side up. And we're going to line that up. And we're going to stitch. One thing you are going to be doing with this particular design, you are going to be taking your hoop off your machine a lot. So when we're all done, we're going to take, and I just want to show you here in the instructions. All right? They'll tell you. You have your right side up, it's going to stitch, and then you're going to cut. All right? So you don't have to think, oh, I can't remember all these steps. You don't have to. All right, I like using a sharp pair of scissors. I tend to use my curved applique scissors. And you want to trim quite close. Okay? And then we're going to line this up. And I'm going to take my background, and you're going to put right sides together for the background. Think about it. When you're sewing blocks together, you will put right sides of the fabric together. So we're going to stitch. And basically I lined up that raw edge with the cut, you know, where the straight stitch was. Then we're going to flip this over and give it a press. And I find finger pressing, sometimes you can use that hair press, that works too. All right, line it up, and we're going to sew the other side. So again, it's going to do my straight stitch, and then you're going to cut. You're going to see a rhythm to this once you get going with it. So I take, and sometimes you don't have to take your hoop entirely off, but you will have to kind of unhook it a little bit. All right. Take that guy. We're then going to line up our fabric. Make sure you put your hoop back on. If you don't, and you lower the foot, your stop start will be red and it'll say, please attach your hoop. So again, it's going to stitch the other side. What I love about this, it does it perfect for you. Again, flip it over and give it a press. Lower the foot again, and what it's going to do is going to go across the top so we know where to trim when we add our next batik color. Alrighty, so I take and I'm trimming across. Why you do the trimming is to reduce the bulk. If you think about it, you don't want it so lumpy in there. All right, now my next batik, or looks like batik, we're going to line this up. They will give you in the pattern exact dimensions that you need for cutting, so you don't have to worry about trying to figure that out. It'll line it up for you. So again, I'll pull this back a little bit so I can give it a press. And you can see that, look how beautiful that connection is.
Pretty points.
Pretty points. And you tell your non-sewing friends it was really hard.
For those pretty points, you could tell your sewing friends.
All right, so we're stitching across. Alrighty, so now we take our background, line it up where we've cut on that straight stitch. And you can see it's actually very repetitive, it's very relaxing.
When you line that rectangle up, do you have a particular, like how much do you extend it on either side?
Try to have it roughly balanced, but you know, if you're a little off,
they've given you enough fabric.
Yeah,
okay.
They've given you enough material. All right. So again, it's going to sew the other side. So whenever you sew that first straight stitch, and remember when you seem like you sewn your straight stitch in the middle of fabric, that should prompt you
to trim.
To trim, yes. Alrighty, so we're going to do our side. Lower it down. Alright, again remember, press it, lower the foot, and remember it's going to sew straight across so we know where to line up for our next batik or whatever your fabric you're doing for your actual goose. Again, I like to pull it out a little bit. If you can't fit your hand underneath there to get it, just take the hoop off, slide it off a little bit. All right, now we're going to do our next batik. Get that lined up. Looks good. Slide it in, lower the foot. Remember, right sides together. The first one, the first kind of purpley one that I did, that's the only one that was right side up. Everything else, when you're sewing, it's going to be right side down. And again, we're just going to do that stitch across so we know where to put that background piece. Slide it out a little bit. Trim it up. Take our background piece. Line it up. Slide your hoop back in. Again, flatten it out, lower the foot, then it's going to stitch the other side, the placement line. So again, anytime you feel you can't reach it, just back it up, take your hoop off a little bit. There you go, our next background piece. Line it up. Stitch it down. Flatten it out. Again, it's going to stitch across so we know where to trim for our last block. And you can see how it builds pretty quickly.
It's kind of like paper piecing, except not upside down.
Yep, you got it. And I don't hear you screaming and running from the room.
Hey.
Being
left-handed makes left and right difficult, and
up and down
a little dyslexic. Every time I do paper piecing, I'm always a 1/4 inch short on the fabric.
All right, last piece. Remember, right sides together. You should be looking at the wrong side of the material. Alrighty, so we're gonna flatten this puppy out, give it a press. So remember, whenever you see a straight stitch kind of in the middle of nowhere, that should prompt you that you need to trim. And in the instructions, she actually calls it trimming placement line. So she does try to remind you. Flip it back, give it a press, lower the foot. We're going to sew the other side. And we're going to put our fabric piece down.
All right, now the quilter in me
Uh-huh.
is sitting here thinking, those are the most accurate flying geese that you could ever get. If you wanted to create a border of that, could you not just do this section of it?
Absolutely.
And then go ahead and take it out and then do another section and do as many sections as you need to create your border?
Yep.
How cool is that?
Yeah. Like I said, it's very accurate. And if you didn't want it poofy, don't put the batting in.
Oh, very nice. So just do it right to the stabilizer.
Why not?
I could see doing it both ways, because if you did it with a poofy and then you layered a bat underneath of it, it would almost look a little trapunto
That's true.
on there. So that would be kind of cool.
All right.
All right.
Our last piece.
Back to the back to the project.
Back to the project. Okay, so basically, this is where we are. Okay, we've done all of these, so we're putting the block that's going to have the stitching.
Okay.
All right. So we're going to line this up. All right, does that make sense that we have flipped that back? Now, it's going to sew a box to hold everything down. And what they were very clever when they digitized this, can you see how if you come this direction, it's fine for the fabric. The fabric isn't going to flip up because you're going down with it. So what they did is they digitized half, and then they start up again at the top.
Oh, how smart
I
is that?
know, aren't they smart? So Kimberbell knows what they're doing. So then you start up at the top again, so you don't have to kind of hold it.
Going with the flow.
Going with the flow instead of against it. So I thought that was clever. All right, now we're going to do the quilting part. So if you take a look, all of this in the actual geese and also on the background pieces. So then you do want to put your pretty thread in, or if you want a different color. So I'm going to put this color in. All right, lower the foot, and we're just gonna hit start. And what I love about this, it takes a minute.
Oh, really?
Which is a lot faster than...
10 minutes in, I'm still trying to decide what I want to do.
Yes. So it's just going, and you don't have to think anything of it. Now I'm going to do the same color thread for doing the word quilting. So I'm not going to change color. So when it moves over, and it does it automatically, you don't have to think about it. You don't have to think about it. We're just going to go and let it do its thing. That's what I like about it. It does all of the words and everything for you. Again, if you didn't want the words, you can skip them. That is the nice thing with this. You can...
I think it's cute.
Yep. Alright, so once it's done the word quilting, I am going to change it to a different color. So I'm going to do the burgundy. So it's doing the friends and then the heart. So it's doing that next. Oh, in actuality, on the smaller one, it didn't have room to put the heart in. So it's just put the word friends. All right, and I'm going to switch one final time to do keep you in stitches. Okay. Does it a little differently for the different sizes. So what it's going to do first is, oh, it does do the heart, but it's in a real pale color. So we'll just keep it in the green. Gotta make it a little different than the other one. All right, so I'm just gonna keep the green in there, and we're gonna move to the next one. And what's cool with all of these ones that we're doing now, they take a minute or less than. All right, and we're on the last word, stitches. Alrighty, so now we're going to change back to our regular thread because we're done doing the embroidery word part of it. Now, what it's going to do next is the positioning of the ribbon. So you see on the end, right? It has the ribbon. So it's going to tell me where to place that. It's going to just give you a little itty bitty straight stitch so you know where to place it. And when you're putting this in, she tells you in the instructions you can tape it. I find I'm okay holding it. This is not my first time doing this. But you want about a 1/2 inch extending out the side. And the ribbon, the majority of it, you want coming towards the main part. And then it's going to slide down, and we're going to do the same thing on the other side. All right, so now it wants me to put my ribbon on again. So again, have about a 1/2 inch extending, lower the foot. All right, so we have our ribbons attached. Now, if you take a look-see, they want you to tape the ribbons together. That I do. Okay. And then we have one side that we're going to, this is our back. So we have half the back, a little bit of the back folded in half, and then this is the bigger piece. So if you take a look on the back, see how there's a little bit, and then the bigger piece. So first thing we want to do is we want to make sure these ribbons don't get caught where you don't want them to. So Kimberbell has some paper tape. And we're just going to tape this down so they stay and obey. And I would rather put too much down than not enough. So we're just going to go and make sure that is secure. All right, so now we're going to make sure the fold is in facing, and you're going to be stitching across that. So it's just anchoring it down. I'm going to shorten this tape up a little bit. There you go. Alrighty, so we've done that section. Okay, so see how we're going to stitch? And now we basically take and we line this guy up. Now, she also is saying that you could tape it. Again, I like to be daring.
I was going to say, you're going to be a rebel.
I'm going to be a rebel. But everything's under control. You know, the ribbons are stitched down.
The fabrics are tacked down.
Yeah. So it's a rebel, but not all that much. And she basically stitches it twice for you. And then at that point, we're going to remove it from the hoop. And we're going to cut. All right. The favorite sound in the world, finish sewing. All right. So now at this point, we're going to pop the hoop out. We are going to trim to basically 1/4 inch. I like to cut diagonally on the corners so it reduces the bulk. Too. Again, cut on the corners. And then we're going to turn this around. This is going to be, honestly, the hardest part. And it's less difficult the bigger it is. So we're just going to take, and we're just going to push this out. And we can use our ribbons to help us a little bit. Shove that through. And shh. I don't have my point turner with me today. But you would embroidery people out there watching this, you're going to get your point turner. You're not going to do it with a pair of scissors like I am. Alrighty. Get rid of the tape, holding the ribbons down. And then the last thing you want to do is you're going to flip that side down. And look at that. And we're just going to poke that bit out. And then you're going to go over to the ironing board and give it a press. Oh, look at that.
That's great.
That's so cute.
Awesome.
All right. See you next time.